This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Seasons come and seasons go. Such do champions. Without the likes of Michel Dudignon or Mick Kalerch, the path was clear for a new champion for 2019's final season. Rob Olenek went down that path, and with an incredible gap of 136 points to second place Finn Marko Kika, he was the guy to take home the trophy. With the new season starting here today, who can try to challenge the newly crowned title defender? Join us now and find out who the strong dogs this season are as we get ready to watch the round 1 of the Grand Prix Legends Lotus 49 Championship live here on the Global SimRacing Channel via the iRacing Esports Network. The crew to give you all these stats and storylines today will be Sean Ambrose, joining myself, Stefan Schlacher, turning the knobs and pushing the buttons behind the scenes, our director, Dr. Amjad Yamin, and he's using cameras provided by the great Dougie Beard. The track today will be a beautiful track, obviously Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in Bowmanville, Ontario. 10 turns in total are laid out in around these 2.5 miles, 3.9 kilometers that is. 6 turns to the right, 4 to the left, and a lot of them very blind, very fast, and filled with quite some bumps, which most definitely will tackle the best in these Lotus 49 drivers here today. It will be all about the turn 2-3 combo for these guys to really get down on power and then just draft along the Mario Andretti straight to get the best possible run. How to do that exactly? Well, that's a good question. It's gonna get answered in our GSRC lap guide.
Alright, we're in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around Motorsports. Down into turn 1, drivers can take a lot of this inside curb, so much so that if they wanted to, they can straddle it, bleed onto the power, and get the car to the right quick for Clayton. The crest here means you'll want to double apex this sucker by letting it drift back out mid-corner. As you scrub off speed, cut it back in and ease onto the throttle. Once again, switch sides quickly, get the car settled, and try your best to get the nose turned in for Quebec. The exit of this corner really opens up, but can't quite be taken flat to the floor until the car is pretty well straightened out. Then comes the plunge through turn 4. Ideally, you'll want your left front tire to barely glance the gutter on the inside. Hold tight to the left and use the compression at the bottom of the hill to get the car slowed up. As the track falls away, it'll want to push in the middle of Moss. Aim for the straightest exit you can out of this hairpin so that you can get on the gas as soon as possible. Now we've hit the Andretti straight, which proves no problem in most cars, but the 49 will be bouncing all over, getting squirrely. Here's a little trick I learned. Let 4th gear bounce off the limiter over the hump and the car stays planted so that you can keep your foot in it. Once you come over the final rise, you gotta slam on the brakes and get it turned in for the S's. Try to keep the car tight to the inside to offer a better line into 9. In the end, you'll want to set the car up for the ideal entry into White's corner, which is the slowest of these switchbacks. Be gentle on the power, and if you kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around Motorsports.
Joe Peak doing what nobody can do better, talking and driving you a lap around the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Now though, let's have a look at how exactly last season's championship played out. First, we're going to have a deeper look at the F1 championships from last season. And as already mentioned, Rob Olenek went away with that, 136 points ahead of Marko Kika. He already had that in the bag. Even before round 12 last season started. Peter Mikus, he also very comfortable there in 3rd place. And then between Daniel Sad and Ovi Trankgrade, it was only 3 points between them in that last round. And yeah, as you see, they managed to even that out for 4th place Daniel Sad and Ovi Trankgrade, 249 points behind their names. They're 231 points in the very end behind Rob Olenek for that F1 championship. But for that F2 championship, I have a feel Sean, it was a lot closer.
F2 Championship was a lot closer. In fact, look here, David Rossi just escaping Pascal Tremblay there by 15 points in the end. Bill Tyler back there in third, kept it close for most of the season. Colin Bentley with a fourth place finish, and Andres Bruno finishes fifth, the Argentinian, with a great season, actually.
Very great season for Bruno. Hopefully he can carry some momentum over into this season as well. Probably will get answered right away in this race. Talking about race details, the next chart we have for you prepared, and obviously the first round of this 12th round season. 26 laps will be driven here today. Open setups as you're accustomed already in a Lotus 49 championship, but the biggest talking point is that new penalty format iRacing has introduced this off-season. 17 incidents get you your first stop-and-go penalty, and at 25 incident points, you now do get DQ'd, so a little bit bigger margin there for the disqualification, but you still have to serve that one stopping your penalty at 17 incident points, Sean.
Well, most part, definitely a place where you could pick up several of those. It should be a bit of a challenge for the Lotus 49 today. The lack of any real downforce on the car, the sweeping turns, the elevation changes. Turn 2 alone is, it's a car eater on any combination, but Clayton's going to be tough for the Lotus 49 today, coming up the hill and down over the other side. Should be a lot of fun to watch. And of course, the braking zone down in the Moss. For those who haven't seen the Lotus 49 before in iRacing, this is a hard car to stop. And, getting down into Moss probably be one of the trickier sections for the Lotus 49 today, and it is wide open on the Andretti Straight. That's where we'll see our really, really good passing opportunities as everybody heads to the S's.
And Sean, as always, we're here live on the iRacing Esports Network. If you're watching this right now and haven't subscribed yet, then make sure to do so. You'll easily find that out because that button down there will still be bright red for you. ISN always very happy to be part of their lineup. Speaking part of their lineup, part of our lineup is now the GSRC merch store. And on that merch store, you, for example, can find a black t-shirt. Now, this is one of the best products you can have for your own racing needs, because if you wear that under your racing suit, we've worked together with one of the biggest, or probably most of the biggest oil companies out there. If you wear that under your fire suit, you actually lose 4 liters per lap less of fuel usage. So it really can make the difference in an endurance race for you out there. In the background, though, you can see that a lot of GSRC drivers are on their laps already. Only 1.5 minutes remaining qualifying, and right now, Ovid Trengerate is the top dog, followed by, very closely, Mick Claridge.
Yes, the return of Mick Claridge out of the booth onto the track, and, well, it seems speed has not come easily so far for Mick as he finds himself sitting behind Ove, but trust me, Ove, one of the very, very best here. I'm not seeing Tremblay. I'm not seeing Dudignan. Unfortunately, they apparently have not made it. So
yes,
right now,
you see, he's in fourth. Dudignan is in fourth.
Oh, there he is. Okay, yes. I'm sorry, I overlooked that. Michel is here. So don't be alarmed by his P4 on the qualifying order right now. He'll be there at the front. The man wears the number 1, so there's a reason for that here in an official race. But Mick Claridge, Robbo is here. Dudignan, Roman Pavlovsky is here. So all the big players here in the Lotus 49 series, in fact, arrived for round 1 here at Motorsports.
Chris Murakami, the man that I call the madman, because he is racing here at 5 a.m. his local time. So yeah, I don't even know if he did put in any practice or even has some caffeine in his veins. Either way, he does need it. A 7th place right now on the grid. By the way, we also have Roman Pavlovsky back in the series. He is in 5th place, so a very stacked top 5 right now in qualifying. as actually the time is already over, so that top 5 stay marked down, and Ovi Trangrate will be leading that pack into turn 1, hopefully for him, if he gets a good start, because he is your pole man for today. Mickey College will be landing out on the outside of him. Rob Olenek, 3rd place for him. Michel Dudigno will be running out your 2nd row of the grid. While Roman Pawlowski will line up in 5th place, and Bruce Nelson in 6th. The 7 of Chris Murakami fittingly starts in 7th place alongside Peter Mikus in that 4th row. Billy Bob Wright, 9th place, and Bill Tyler will round out your top 10.
All right, and then we go to the back 10 here. Dan Sadro will start in 11th. Jan Hoffman in 12th. Row 7, Antonio Race will start 13th today. Marco Kika, sorry Marco, he's starting 14th. Row 8, going to be Matt Yeomans and Colin Coker back with us today in the number 24. Row 9, Andrew Eng and David Cohen. Row 10, Andres Bruno and Telmo Amaral.
Paul Ferrer will be lining up in 21st, Osmar Schultz 22nd, Mateusz Adamski 23rd, Brendan Cleveland in 24th, Sean Shaw in 25th, Paul Norman 26th, Bogdan M. Dumitrescu in 27th, who's also the last car to put in a qualifying lap, Colin Bentley, Robert Reynolds, Chris Bean and Rodney Evans, the 4 cars that did not put up a qualifying lap, which means this field is gonna line up well beyond the last turn, because we have 31 cars here today on the grid as the engines are already synchronizing. Green flag is out. There they go. Rob Olenek with not a very good start that was. He is already dropping back nearly 2 rows, but the best start for Ovi Trangrate, who is a little bit slow through turn 1. Mick Clutch tries to tackle him into turn 2, but decides better of it. Very loose there for Trangrate into turn 2 over that crest. Everything is single file right now. Roman Pawlowski with a little bit of a slide on the outside because he did catch some grass there. Oh, another slide for Pawlowski in the background there, stacking up the field behind him. But the story is the top 4 are up and away, and then there's a little bit of a gap to Bruce Nelson in 5th place. Still very sideways for the back half of the top 10. As Peter Mikus now goes sideways. Chris Murakami also went sideways going into Ross, as Mick Clarge was able to overtake Ovi Trangrate finally. Now also Michel Dudigno tries to do the same thing as Mick Clarge. Side by side they go down the Mario Andretti straight away. That isn't very straight. Ovi Trangrate finds it out with a very big slide on the inside, which means Michel Dudigno on the outside with the better drive. But look at the comeback from Ovi Trangrate. Tries to hold it on the inside. Once again, a very big slide for Trangrate. Has to give up 2nd place, maybe even 3rd place, because here comes Rob Olenek, who gets this door slammed by Trangrate, which means their top 4 going into lap 2 are Mickey College, followed by Michel Dudigno, Ovi Trangrate and Rob Olenek.
Uwe certainly not getting the start he wanted. Mick pulled off that pass back down there in Moss, and ever since then, Mick has just scurried away.
Oh, in the background, Chris Murakami with a slide and nearly goes into another driver, hits the wall hard. That's probably his race stunt with a car that's crabbing quite a lot.
Yeah, here's the one for Murakami.
Oh! My goodness, we have to stay on board with Chris Murakami until he gets to T3.
It gets worse.
It gets even worse.
It gets considerably worse, unfortunately, and it gets worse for drivers behind him that got caught up in it. I think Dave Cohen was one of them. We'll stick with this here.
Yeah, that's one way to take turn 3 there, and how does the guys behind get... Oh, I think that was a separate incident.
It was a separate incident, but I'm afraid it was reactionary to what was going on in front of them, and they lost it. I believe one of them might have been Dave Cohen. Maybe Paul Norman might have gotten wrapped up in that as well. But Ove continues to drop back through the field. Not sure what happened. Wondering if maybe he picked up some damage on the opening lap. Possibly down there in Moss at that battle with Mick.
I don't know, but I think that is a little bit down to his driving style. We know that Ovi Trangrate loves it. That's a little bit more slidey than your usual Lotus 49 setup, and I think that's hampering a little bit in the corner speed compared to the other guys around him. Either way, once again, a very big slide from Rob Olenek ahead of him, so even the guys that are having a little bit more stable setup, they're still sliding around quite a lot. Moss Hairpin, one of the most trickiest turns to get right on this track, even though it doesn't seem like that. And over train rate, just not getting a good run on Olenek.
Battling going back just behind this Sadro Antonio Reis. Sadro just gets around him. Was up the Andretti straight.
Yeah, Sadro already up 3 positions with that pass now on Antonio Reis, who also has a little bit the reverse. No, actually, Reis started from 13th, so both of them are quite some big movers in the field right now. You can see there Jan Hoffmann right behind them in that dark green car, and then there's a full string of cars really in behind them, all the way back to 13th place. That's, yeah, you can't really throw a blanket over all these, but they still fit in the draft range of this Lotus 49.
Towards the back of the field, Chris Bean just had a spin. No reason for a replay there. He spun it by himself in the S's, going into the S's, but he got the car back under control. Nobody got caught up in it. Brennan Cleveland's had a problem. I think Adamski was in that also.
Yeah, it all started with Amaral and Adamski ahead of him, with Amaral being very slow, Adamski not realizing that, or realizing that too late. Adamski runs into Amaral, and then an interesting hop from Adamski, and Cleveland not really able to avoid. Well, he was able to avoid Adamski, just not the wall there.
A lot of attrition early here in the field, unfortunately. Lost a lot of drivers. We've got, about 8 of them sitting in the pits right now.
Yeah, 8 in the pits, 2 already disconnected from the server. So, yeah, we mentioned in the beginning of this broadcast that this is a very tricky track, especially for the Lotus 49. And it really proves once again how hard, how fiercely this track can be, as Daniel Sadro super wide through turn 2, as we see the battle for first still going on. Able to avoid the grass there, but once again, very loose for Sadro.
Sadro and Reis still have a really, really good battle going on. I don't think Antonio's recovered from the pass there. I think he wants that spot back, and he's definitely driving it hard now to get back into that P8 spot.
Oh!
And so much for that. And Dan goes off there, and Moss, he's going to lose just that spot to Reis. And, Billy Bob is scurried away. I used that word twice now. He's up there in 7th now, 3 seconds ahead.
Yeah, Sadro really showing how easy it is to overshoot that Moss hairpin. It's not only easy to overshoot it, but also easy to apply a little bit too much throttle and spin yourself out of the Moss hairpin. So really have to be careful both ways through the Moss hairpin to not make a mistake and land in one of the many more walls around this track.
Yeah, the walls come up much quicker here in the older version of Motorsport than they do currently. Roman Pavlovsky, Bruce Nelson, side by side here.
What happened to Pavlovsky though? Wasn't he already in front? No, he wasn't. Alright, never mind. Just Nelson with the mistake there, which did cost him the position against Roman Pavlovsky. And Sean, what I would like to see of iRacing is keep the grass, but give us the resurfaced version of this.
Well, can we have it our own way? I mean,
we're getting North Wilkesboro the way it was 1940s.
Oh, Peter Mikus with a slide, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of drivers showing how hard this track is in the Lotus 49. Now, if you've raced this track in a GT car, you think, man, that's pretty tricky to drive. Well, welcome to the 50s.
Tell you what, the top 4 right now, pretty solid. Dugnan looking back at Robbo here, but Robbo and Uwe definitely keeping it close here. Mick Mick having fun up there by himself right now in first, but second, third, and fourth are hotly contested.
Yeah, well, one theme that I'm continuing to see is people losing it heavily over that crest of turn 2 as once again Paul Ferrer does it when I have him on my screen. But they're all able to save it, so it really does seem that all these guys have had so many problems with that crest of turn 2 that once they have that problem again, they're mostly able to save it again. As Sadro and Reese are once again squaring off for that 8th place.
Dunyan with big trouble there, and the S is sliding all over the place. Uwe is going to get around. He lost the handle on it back there.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but yeah, as you said, Michel Tudinho now in 4th place, which means Olenek now the first challenger of Mick Klatch, who is continuing to ever so slightly run away, but Rob Olenek last lap, he was 2/10 faster than Klatch, so maybe Olenek able to run down Klatch for that first place.
I think Mick spent enough time in the booth that the itch is real, and I don't know if he's going to give up first place. Honestly, first place is it's Mick's to lose. Let's just leave it at that. He's got to keep this car on track. Again, we've already seen the degree of difficulty here, 8 laps in, and the attrition it's caused. Mick's got his work cut out for him because he will get to traffic here at some point, especially with all the trouble these guys have had this morning. And that'll be his real challenge, is getting through traffic here.
Oh, who is that behind?
On track, and that's Antonio Reese.
Michel Tudinho once again, very sideways through the S's, losing a few car lengths once again. And Sadro now finally passed Reese again for that 8th place.
Yeah, that's what I had picked up on, and those two continue to go at it here. It's allowed Jan Hoffman to get into the battle as well.
Oh, big moment for Mick just now through second turn. I have no idea how he managed to go onto the grass, go on 2 wheels, and still be able to drive through Clayton. There we go, on board with him. Look at that wheel action there. Now he goes on 2 wheels and drives it off like nothing ever happened. I probably would have lost that car about 3 times there.
Yeah, that'd have been the end of race for me. I'd have stuffed it in the tire barrier down on the other side of the hill.
Unfazed by those problems, the Mikelec still continues to lead ahead of Rob Olenek and over Trangrade. Michel Tudinho continues to fall back ever so slightly now in the middle portion of this race, as we are now starting a lap 10 out of this 26 lap race.
They take him down pretty quick here, just about 1 minute and 15 seconds.
Oh, Mick
our leaders
once again with
maybe Mick is starting to feel the pressure a little bit of trying to survive Motorsport, but that's 2 laps, 2 mistakes, and like I said a moment ago, I think really the only person and trouble just behind him, Robbo with a big slide. That almost cost him the spot to Trangarade as they were coming down into Moss.
Yeah, that is not gonna do well for his challenge on Mickey Klatch for the first place. Putting that a little bit on hold now. In behind the battle for 5th place, also not really separating between Pawlowski and Bruce Snelson. However, Snelson seems to not be as fast as Pawlowski right now. Jumping back to the battle pack of P11, that's Marco Kika versus Bill Tyler. Bill Tyler, one of our, I think Formula 2 drivers, if I got this right. Marco Kika If you're here since the beginning of this broadcast, then you know Marco Kika was last season's second place driver in the F1 Championship, so he took a big fall during week 13. Only finds himself right now in 11th place after starting from 14th place. So either he lost momentum or this just isn't his style of driving.
We do still have several really good battles in this field, though. It's really scattered all the way back to about P16 or P15, Bruno and Paul Ferrer. Paul Ferrer is having a really, really good run at this today, honestly. He's up 5 spots and fighting Bruno for that 15th spot.
Yeah, currently our biggest charger through the field would be P19, that is Colin Bentley. He started from 28th. Our beloved Sub would say that that is not a legitimate hard charger because he did put in a qualifying lap, and I am quite with him there. So I think we have quite a tight hard charger with a lot of people going up 5 places.
I'm starting to wonder when's the incident going to happen for these guys? We're coming up on lap traffic. This is going to be very tricky here.
2x2 going through the Moss hairpin. Rob Olenek getting past, and the other two getting a little bit held up by Brennan Cleveland there.
Wow.
Quick update for 7th place. Daniel Sadler got past Billy Bob, right? So Daniel Sadler now in 7th place, trying to charge down Bruce Nelson, who is about 8.5 seconds ahead of him.
Yeah, you know, Billy Bob must have made a mistake because he had 3-second advantage on Sadro. Here we go. Sorry.
Just once
boy.
again.
Billy Bob doing a little bunny hop in there over the curbs.
Yeah, car, already a very light car with quite a lot of power, and just the car that is light getting even lighter is never a good formula for having some rear traction, and Billy Bob Ryan showing that to perfection how that can affect your handling, as once again Daniel Sadler very wide through turn 2, able to keep it together and able to try to charge down the field ahead of him.
Back to the fight up front.
Oh,
here.
Bruce Nelson going very interesting into the Moss hairpin, having to try to overtake a lapped car. He takes the rallycross route, jumping over the inside curb.
Yeah, jumped all the way over it. Another bunny hop there, and he gets over and around Paul Norman down there in Moss. Hopefully it didn't do any damage to the suspension on the front end of that Lotus 49.
Well, he surely will find out quite soon as he's going into the SS now. Up ahead, though, the fight is starting to really kick off for that second place as they're starting to lose Mick Clutch once again. Rob Olenek leading that pack ahead of Ovid Trengate and Michel Dudignon, who all three of them doing their best Drift King impression.
Yes, they are. I think it's Dudignon right now that's starting to feel the pressure to make a pass here. It seems like he's trying to set Ove up here for something. I don't know if it's going to be this lap, but Michel looking pretty impatient behind him. It's time to get to work here if he's got any chance of getting that P1 spot on the podium with just 12 laps to go.
What I kind of find a little bit funny about this battle is that they're all driving in one shade of red, as Michel Dudignon tries to make his shade of red go into third place. Not able to do it. That's the grass though, and that's going wide. That's nearly a spin for him. Can he recover from it? Yes, he can. Keeps it together, but that's about at least 1.5 seconds lost for Michel Dudignon in this fight.
Yeah, well, it said he was setting up a move there, and unfortunately the failure of that has cost him tremendously on track and time now. Just about a 1.5 seconds behind Uwe after that. He was on the replay there, just The hands were unsteady for a moment. He reels it back in, fortunately.
McLaren continuing to lead this race now, about 2 seconds ahead of Rob Olenek and Ove Trengerate, who are, let's see, that is about 1.5 seconds ahead of Michel Dudignon. So the battle of 3 is now a battle of 2, with about 12 laps to go in this race.
Billy Bob under an intense amount of pressure back here from Antonio Reese. In fact, they're coming up on the lap car. They're going to catch Brennan Cleveland at a great time here on the Mario Andretti Straight.
In behind them, the battle for P11 also is getting red hot. That is between Bill Tyler and Marco Kika. As in front of them, nothing happens. Let's see if something happens between those two. No, also Kika are too far back into the SS to do something on Bill Tyler. But look at that closing rate from Kika. Has a slide as he was on the gravel, so he has to back off once again.
John Shaw has had trouble out of Clayton. The leaders just got past him. That happened right in front of him. I think it was a very big spin. He keeps the car clean, back on track. And, most importantly, though, that happens in front of the leaders, well enough in front of them that it wasn't a factor in their run. Mick's feeling it today, Stefan. He, I wouldn't say he's been flawless. No one's been flawless here today at Motorsport, but Mick right now, I'll tell you what, he's looked pretty solid. A nice return to the series.
Yeah, that's Motorsport though. Let's be honest. If you're not extremely experienced in the car that you're driving, you're always bound to have a very hard time around this track. And yeah, Motorsport knows when it can punish you and knows how much it has to punish you to unsettle your confidence. Either way, Michel Dudignon, after many slides, he now has put in the fastest lap of the race with a 15.624, as you saw there on the right top corner of your screen. Michel Dudignon most definitely looking to chase down that battle for P2 again, but is he closing fast enough? That really is the question here.
I definitely don't think he's closing fast enough. Now there are 10 laps to go. I certainly don't want to underestimate the powers of the great Michel Dudignon, but it may take care of itself in front of him. Rob and Ove fighting pretty hard, so maybe Dudignon, just patience and focus right now on just keeping the car clean might be the better part of a chance at a podium here for him.
And that battle for P11 still not settled between Bill Tyler and Marco Kika. Let's see if they do something into the SS this time. No, Marco Kika once again very far back, and that's a spin for him.
That was a hard off for the Finn too. He goes straight into the tire barrier. Here it is on the replay.
And Sean, looking and judging from that replay, I would say Marco Kika just got surprised by how much he was closing in.
Yeah, he obviously got to the point there where he realized, I'm getting here a little too quick, a little hard on the binders. Car starts to go around. He wasn't able to save it, and it noses it into that barrier we talked about there.
Funnily enough, though, Marco Kika only lost a single position from that, and that was to... actually, no, he didn't. He didn't even lose a single position, but he lost quite a lot of handling on the rear as it just nearly went off track in turn 3, so I would be surprised if he stays in 12th place. Same goes with the 3 guys for 2nd place. I would be surprised if they're staying in the positions they are right now, because they are starting to get again very much closer, not between those 3, but also because Mick Claridge is getting reeled in.
Yeah, and Dudignon is starting to catch up now to this battle between Uwe and Rob. So he will be back in the mix here in just a moment. But yes, it is a little alarming. They are starting to catch Mick a little bit. Mick's going to have a little bit of traffic coming up here in front of him to navigate.
And Marco Kika seems to have finally bitten the grass.
Yeah. Yep, the S's ate him up. The hill handling car ate him up there going into the S's. He lost it out of the barrier and has taken his Lowe's 49 to the pits. Here we go. Here's the replay for Kika. Just couldn't hang on to it.
You can see he turns in and right away the rear just slides away from him. No way of catching that once it's that far gone. And yeah, that's a very tragic ending to a very sad race day for Marco Kika. Most definitely he will want to forget that as quick as he can. Also, Paul Ferrer seems to have run into some problems as he also disconnected from the server. So after a strong showing for Paul Ferrer, his race also came to an early end, about 19 laps in for him. Sadly, we do not have a replay to show you what happened there. So we're going to continue to focus on this battle, maybe for first place as soon as Michel Dudignon continues to close in, this time a 10th faster than the two guys ahead of him. And Mick Claridge, actually, this time was the fastest car of the four. A little bit of traffic once again for him in the form of Amaral, who goes over to the right side, gives him all the room he needs, same with the three guys in behind. Great awareness by Amaral, being the lap car there. Paul Norman now in the same boat as Amaral. Also, he gives a lot of space to Mick Claridge on the inside. Mick Claridge with a big slide, which does leave him vulnerable now. And Rob Olenek immediately closing in.
Norman does a good job of getting out of the way in the S's there. A little bit more difficult for Dudignon. He was the last one to get to Norman right in the middle of the S's, so it did hold him up just a little bit.
Oh, Mick Claridge once again very heavily over that inside curb, setting him out wide, but yeah, he's always able to square off the exit of turn 2, so it doesn't hurt him too much. But if he does that too much, then I think that they will be catching him much faster than they are already.
They're definitely catching him. This could be part of Mick's master plan. Spend most of the race out there driving by yourself, and then let's have a little fun here with 5 laps to go. I doubt that's hardly it, but that's my theory, and I'm going to stick to it.
5 laps to go for Mick Claridge to hang on onto the first win of this season. 12 wins you can get. I don't think that anyone will be able to do that, as Mick Claridge now most definitely being caught by Rob Olenek, who is now under the non-existing rear wing of the man.
Boy, big slide there out of whites for Robbo. You know, I know we've focused all of our attention up to the P4.
Oh, triangulate!
Shut up. Stay at the P4. Stay at the top 4. Yeah, I'll quote our good friend Soup, with commiserations to the rest of the field. It seems like this might be where the battle's at for the rest of the race.
Yeah, it seems like most definitely we have a few battles up and down the field, but this is really where the most important battle gets settled, as here comes the run from Rob Olenek. Goes a little bit sideways there onto the Mario Andretti straight away. Can he actually do something though? Yes, he does. Go to the left side. That will be the outside for the S's. Can he stick to it into turn 8? They go for the very first time. Mick Claridge a little bit sideways, so does Rob Olenek, and Claridge able to hold the line on the inside. Rob Olenek coming back with it. That's a touch. Oh, that's a wreck. Oh,
Mick gathers it up. Oh, Dudignon, Olenek get both stuck down there just before the final turn. Claridge manages to get away, but it's Uwe Trengrade that goes to the lead. And it all started with a bit of a slide there from Olenek. Go on board Michel here. He's obviously going to get to it a little late.
That's just what hard racing sometimes does to you. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it most definitely did. Very lucky for Mickey Claridge to not get turned over and land on his roof.
Michel definitely got the worst of that. Not able to drive away from that, unfortunately. That's going to end his race. There's Mick on the outside, and again, it just started with a bit of a slide there from Uwe, but from Rabo, but Mick coasts for Mr. Toad's wild ride there as you ride with the onboard, holding on to second place. Uwe's gotten away by 3 seconds now with 3 laps to go.
Yeah, you're seeing it with 3 laps to go. Over Trengrade in first, McClarich second, Roman Pawlowski in third place, and then Bruce Snelson fourth, who seems to be catching Roman Pawlowski at an alarming rate right now. So that third place is not as secure as you might think. Last lap is 16.7 for Pawlowski versus a 16.4 for Snelson.
All right, well, that sorted everything out up front. P7 still good. Billy Bob's still doing a really good job of holding off Antonio Reis, but Reis is taking a couple looks at it. Not going to have many more with only 3 laps to go. Billy Bob's picked up a couple of spots in this race, had a couple of scary moments early, but has managed to recover for right now running in P7. And I don't know. We'll see if Antonio's got anything for him here as, like I said, they've got just over 2 laps, just under 3 laps to go now. They're about halfway around.
Yeah, that battle for 7th place is actually right now the closest battle we have. Maybe something happens for that 3rd place. We will keep you most definitely updated on that front. Apparently, yeah, even for P1 it's closing in with Claridge able to catch Trengrade again. What even? How? First of all, how is Claridge still driving? Second of all, how is he closing in on Trengrade? 15.587, that's just about not the fastest lap of the race, which still is holding, I think, Michel.
No, it is. It is the fastest lap of the race. That 15.587 is.
No, it's actually not, because Michel Todinho has a 15.571. About 16 thousandths faster than Mick Claridge. Yeah, Trengrade either had a lot of traffic in that lap, which I don't think he had, or he just had a very big mistake, because he did lose 2.5 seconds. So Trengrade most definitely not yet out of the woods, as now he is out of the woods because that was a forest they were driving through. Over Trengrade, not very confident through the S's, at least the 8th turn on this track. And look at how much Claridge is able to close in through the S's.
Boy, oh boy, and Mick has really found it. Obviously did not pick up a lot of damage on the car in that incident. They're going to have some traffic to deal with in front of them. One of the cars just pulling right out of the way. They'll be coming up on Brennan Cleveland.
We're already on the last lap, so we're obviously going to stay on this battle with Over Trengrade defending heavily against Mick Claridge, but seems like a little bit hopeless. Maybe he's able to... Oh, that was close between Claridge and Cleveland. Claridge sticking to the inside there. Now through the moss hairpin. Very different lines there. Mick Claridge tries to stick it in, decides better of it, overbrakes it, jumps the curb once again, and that's a slide for Claridge. Spins around. That's the battle for 1st place decided. Where is 3rd place? Roman Pawlowski comes around moss hairpin. Now that means Mick Claridge also loses 2nd place, as where is Over Trengrade? Over Trengrade now entering the S's.
Yeah, and Mick does a good job of getting the car started again, but Bruce Nelson has come around and now is passing him for that third spot.
With Rangrate though, through the last corner, he was able to take the checkered flag for the very first time this season in first place. He will be most definitely very happy about this finish after his miserable last season. Second place goes to Roman Pawlowski ahead of Bruce Nelson to take home third place, Mick Gledge fourth. Seventh place still disputed between Reese and Wright. Billy Bob Wright not able to challenge him for that seventh place over the line, so Antonio Reese stays in seventh. In 13th place, it's Andreas Bruno versus Colin Bentley and Andrew Eng, Sean.
Yeah, one last battle to sort out here, and it got close quick. I had been paying a little bit of attention to it, but this one's come back up, and it might not be decided yet.
There's
Bruno's
also
gotta
12th
be careful here.
place ahead of Bruno, that is Colin Coker, that 12th place. Seems nobody's able to do anything through the SS. Maybe Bruno. Nope, Colin Bentley also stays in 14th place. So with that, they are 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. Now, a few more cars are trickling over the start-finish line. But we're going to step aside for a few moments to take a breather. But we will be quickly back for the post-race show where we will run you down the unofficial finishing order, talk to some of the drivers, and close off a very eventful race. So don't step away too far, as GSRC will be back after these messages. We welcome you all back to the Grand Prix Legends post-race show, streaming to your home on the Global SimRacing Channel via the iRacing eSports Network. And what a race that was here today. Sean Ambrose, he is so excited that he couldn't stay in the press box anymore and had to take off. But over Trangerate, he was the guy to win it all, 7.7 seconds ahead of Roman Pawlowski, ahead of Bruce Nelson in third place. Mick Gledge taking home a maybe disappointing 4th place for him. Rob Olenek 5th place. Those two maybe a little bit disappointed after what happened in the SS. Daniel Sadger, very happy probably for him. From 11th, he went all the way up to 6th place. Same for Antonio Rees, 13th to 7th for him. Billy Bob Wright, he takes his car from 9th into 8th place, only a position gain for him. Jan Hoffman, also a very quiet race from him, as it was for Billy Bob Wright. He finishes in 9th place, not losing nor gaining a position. That is the story for Bill Tyler. He started in 10th and finishes exactly there. Matt Humans, he finishes in 11th place. Colin Coker takes home a 12th place. Andres Bruno, 13th. Colin Bentley gains 14 positions. From 28th, he finishes in 14th. And Rang, the last car on the lead lap, finishes in 15th. Osmar Schultz, 16th. Bogdan Dimitrescu in 17th. Telmo Amaral in 18th. He's also the last car 1 lap down. Brendan Cleveland, 2 laps down in 19th. Peter Mikus, I think, who was the last car to finish this race, 3 laps down in 20th. And then we have a very long list of cars that did not finish, led by a very, very disappointed Michel Dudignon. Number 1 car, running a lot of the race in the top 5, only to find himself 21st, 4 laps down. Rodney Evans, 22nd. Robert Reynolds in 23rd. 24th to Marco Kika. 25th, Chris Bean. Paul Ferreras, 26th. Chris Murakami, 27th. Paul Norman, 28th. John Shaw, 29th. Matthias Adamski, 30th. And Dave Cohen ends the list in 31st, with 10 cars not seeing the checkered flag. And it seems like all of these guys are so excited about what happened, as nearly nobody wants to talk to us. Rob Olenek, he actually does want to talk to us, as well as Mick Pledge. There we have Rob Olenek. Rob, a very eventful race in the top 5, and then a very disappointing end to a very interesting top 5 fight. But let's first go to the start of this race. You seem to have a few problems there.
I missed second gear. Didn't want to go back in for a second. Hopefully I didn't mess people up behind it. I didn't actually go back and look to see what happened after that.
Yeah, I don't think anything happened in the back because of you, but still a very strong recovery from that very bad start from you. And yeah, you were fighting for that second place, then finally got into second place, managed to charge down Mick Clarge, and then yeah, what happened there?
I mean, the traffic made a big difference. It's kind of like multi-class at that point, where it's going to hurt him a little more or me. I think I finally benefited kind of near the end and overall, and I got up with him. The draft was helping too. It definitely pulls the car in. And I don't know. It was just tight racing. I mean, we were both really tight there. It's unfortunate that it happened. But I mean, that's racing. That's what's going to happen sometimes. I knew that I've been trying to make that outside pass up the straight all week and haven't pulled it off, and just pushed a little harder to keep it as close beside him as I could through the first right. And I don't know, just I thought I could hold the inside. You know, Mick was trying to hold his side too, and you know, we just make a little contact. Michelle ended up the worst in the whole thing. I held my brakes and he bumped, so it's kind of sucks for Michelle. But I'm so sorry. Mick and I got together and ruined his race too.
Yeah, racing incidents be racing incidents. Sometimes you can't do anything about an innocent bystander. Rob, next week we are going to a much different track than what we are here today. It is going to be Silverstone, the new version of that. How are you looking forward to that?
I pretty much like this car in every track I've gone to, so most likely I'm going to like it there. I love the old Silverstone historic layout, personally. I think it's just a fast-feeling track. So that's the only negative for me. It's one of my favorite tracks to drive. But, I mean, I've driven the new Silverstone and like it too, and I'm sure it'll be great in this car.
Well, I sure do hope that the race will come back to you, and maybe you can change what happened here today in your favor. Either way, Rob, Congrats on the top 5 finish, and hope to see you next week out.
All right, thanks, Stefan. See you guys later.
That was Rob Olenek, your top 5 finisher of today. Mick Claridge, also top 5 finisher. He finished in 4th place. And Mick, a great start from you, and then you kind of started to run away and got caught again. What happened there? Was that just traffic? You're not able to catch them in the right moments, or what happened there?
Yeah, it all went wrong there, didn't it? It was really annoying because I just had some stupid stuff going on in my head in that race. I blew an engine in practice just before the race started, and it was going into Moss, and I always downshift really early down in the second gear there, and I did it again in the race, and I really over revved the engine. I mean, it must have. I mean, there's no numbers going past where I went. I think it must have gone to about 13 or 14,000 RPM there, and so I think it sort of spooked me. It didn't really, I was really worried about going into that corner for the rest of the race, and then I could see the guys catching, and then I was like, oh, forget the engine, don't worry about it. And so I started to carry on, and then I had some really bad luck with some bad back markers, and then when Rob finally caught me, he was so good on the brakes into Moss there, down into that into the dip, before we get there. And so that was it. So then it was on for the back straight, and so I held the right hand side there. And I think, I was talking to Rob just now in the race. I think it was a bit of a 50-50 there. He lost the rear there going into that corner at the end, but I was really tight on him. I was just about to hit the floor, and get around the next apex at the end, to get the line. But he lost the rear there, and but like I say, I was really tight on him there. I shouldn't have been that tight on him. I was holding him right on the curb there.
Well, 2 sportsmen squaring off, and all that comes out is a 50-50. That's what you like to hear. Racing incidents are racing incidents. Sadly, we had an innocent bystander in Michel Dudignon getting involved in that. But either way, you still recovered from that to a 4th place. I would say that should still give you quite some confidence going up into next week's Silverstone.
Yeah, this was a pretty good track for me. Motorsports, one of my best tracks, so I was a little bit worried about the pace of the other guys, to be honest with you. Next week's a pretty good track for me as well, so I'm hoping to do well there. A bit more room there as well to mess around if you get into a battle. But it already is shaping up to be one hell of a season. All the guys are fast up the front now. It's not a 2-horse race this season now. Guys are quick in this car now. You can see it.
Yeah, hopefully everyone can keep the momentum up through the season, and we will have a cracker towards the end of it. Mick, once again, very much thank you for racing and talking to us.
Yeah, thanks, Stefan. See you guys later.
That was Mick Claridge, your longtime leader in this race, only to end up in 4th place with a little bit of a bent car because of the coming together with Rob Olenek. However, though, with that, we have to sadly end this broadcast. And as always, GSRC would like to thank once again the iRacing Esports Network for having us on their talent lineup to bring you the greatest shows on iRacing into your home. Make sure to like and subscribe to their channel if you haven't done so yet. On top of that, we'd like to thank everyone on the track today for a great show, and especially the Lotus 49 community for contracting with GSRC to broadcast it. Right now on your screen, you can see all of the companies that provide us with their great hard and software GSRC uses to deliver you the best possible show. Additional thanks goes to June Lalonde, who provides us with her great masterpieces. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, please visit us at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also find us on the social media platforms, Twitter with @GSRChannel, Facebook at facebook.com/globalsimracingchannel, or on Instagram at GSRC_RAM. All of the upcoming races for our other series are now sliding across your screen, so check them out and mark them down on your calendar to not miss another second of exciting racing action. Finally, on behalf of the entire crew, I'm Chad, Sean, and Dougie, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in as Ovi Trankerate took away the victory at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. With that said, until next time, servus and sayonara, and as always, race hard, race clean, and we'll see you on the track.